I'm Jennifer Brandine, the Chief Revenue Officer at the International Franchise Association, and we are thrilled and proud to sponsor such a worthwhile event aimed specifically at franchisees. Before we get started today and I give you the opening lineup, I want to just spend a few minutes just sharing with you a little bit about the IFA in case you don't already know about us. We're a 60-year-old trade association, the world's largest and oldest, dedicated to promoting, protecting, and enhancing the franchise business model. We advocate for over 735,000 franchise businesses like you across 300 business lines and sectors who together employ over 7.5 million employees, which is almost 3% of the GDP. So today we have over 1,100 franchisor members, 600 suppliers, and 15,000 franchisees. So what's in it for you and how can you get involved? So I encourage you to get involved because every voice counts. So we have a local grassroots program that you'll hear more about today called the Franchise Action Network. It's made up of tens of thousands of franchise members just like yourself who work towards advancing federal, state, and local policies that help franchise businesses grow and thrive. We also have a lot of education, networking, thought leadership, information sharing. We host 6 events a year and have dozens of webinars and workshops with experts from peers where you can share peer-to-peer networking, get expert guidance and support on everything from your business challenges to business growth to things like COVID relief, PPP, and more. So I'm going to give a shameless plug before we get started to our next event called the IFA 2021 Annual Convention. We have it every year in February, and it will be virtual this year for the first time. So what that means is we'll show up in your homes and your businesses. It's a lot less expensive. We'll be providing a lot more content around the franchise-specific content tracks for franchisees. And, guest speakers, you'll hear from franchisors. It's going to be over 2 weeks. And so you can watch it live or on demand, when it is convenient for you. And we really want to encourage and access as many members and non-members and franchisees from the, hundreds of thousands of franchisees out there. So we've significantly reduced the cost this year. And for $99, you can attend the convention and get all of the content and the best practices and thought leadership that people have come to expect from the IFA. So I encourage you to visit franchise.org, click on events. Our registration is open and ready for you. So on to the day's events. Today we have a great lineup ahead, including our first session, which will be key takeaways from 2020. It'll be a panel session hosted by Mary Mills, VP of Marketing from College Hunks Hauling, Junk, and Moving. And you'll hear from the panelists Ace Hardware, Wild Birds Unlimited, and Fast Signs International. Following that will be a session on putting Google to work for your franchise with David Mottram of Google. And then another session which will focus on creating a more diversified and inclusive workplace with Charles Thurston, COO and VP of Sales at Wisdom Senior Care, and Kelly Wilson from DCI Consulting. And finally, you'll hear from 2 of our own franchisee forum leaders at the IFA, Tam Kennedy from Taco John's, and Azim Sajou, President and CEO of HDG Hotels. So they will share a bit more about how to get involved with the IFA, what you can do to support your own local business, and all of the opportunities that exist. And then the session and the day will close with remarks from our IFA board chair, CEO and president of Fast Signs International. I hope you find the day meaningful and worthwhile. I encourage you again to visit franchise.org. And I'm going to give you my own personal email, jbrandine@franchise.org. Feel free to reach out to me to find out more information, to learn more about our convention, find ways that you can get involved at the IFA, and whatever I can do to be helpful, please use that email and reach out. So I hope you enjoy the sessions today.
LOCALACT is the premier local digital marketing platform for franchises. From hyperlocal advertising campaigns on Google, Facebook, Bing, and Yelp, to local business profile management and online performance reporting, LOCALACT gives you the tools you need to increase revenue for your own business. Our team of local marketing advisors is ready to help put your business front and center in your local market, so you can start converting more online shoppers into actual customers today. LOCALACT. Everything is local.
Since 1960, IFA has worked for the franchising community, celebrating the unique power of our business model to launch and grow brands that consumers know and trust. Brands are the bedrock of franchising, not just a name, but an unmistakable message of quality, consistency, and efficiency that is vital to how our members operate. Brands, together with their local franchise owners and the businesses who support them, are why franchising works. Because each of the 733,000 franchise establishments across the U.S. tells a story of opportunities created, 7.6 million jobs across 300 unique brand sectors. And IFA is working to promote, protect, and enhance them all. Your stories help us make an impact at every level of government, fueling the efforts of IFA's advocacy and government relations team, informing the message we take to policymakers, helping us create a business environment that helps franchise brands grow. Our successes on the policy front work hand in hand with the best-in-class business development programs, professional growth opportunities we offer at the IFA convention and at franchise programming events around the country. And as consumer trends and markets evolve, we are continuously developing innovative content to ensure our members have the tools they need to succeed. Through our in-person educational opportunities and regular webinar programming, as well as ongoing research into key issues impacting the industry, the IFA Foundation plays a critical role in enhancing how our members do business. The IFA Foundation is working to build a community that is inclusive, diverse, and a force for good wherever franchises operate. Through initiatives like Franchising Gives Back, we're shining a light on the charitable work of our members, opening doors for our returning warriors through VetFran, empowering our members through the Diversity Institute. And we are ensuring that the rising generation of talented entrepreneurs and innovative leaders have a platform to jumpstart their entry into the marketplace, providing mentorship and scholarships through our Next Gen initiative. For 60 years, IFA has provided a unified vision for the franchise sector, strengthening the ties that bind our community and championing the power of brands to create incredible value for your business.
Location 3 is the preferred digital partner of franchise brands, helping the world's most recognizable multi-location businesses drive increases in customers, brand awareness, and revenue since 1999. We can help you make better sense of your marketing data, create balance between national and local advertising programs, and support local business owners with targeted digital marketing. Contact us today to learn more. Location 3, Enterprise Strategy, Local Activation.
Welcome to our panel discussion. We're here today with a variety of franchisees from a variety of different industries, and they're here to share their stories of success, challenges, and lessons learned from 2020. It's fair to say this year has taught us a lot about being nimble and flexible and surviving change. So we want to make the most of that and share what we've learned, the mistakes that we might never want to make again, and offer some tips that you might be able to put to use in your business. To get started, I am going to be moderating this session. My name is Mary Mills. I am the Vice President of Marketing at College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving. And joining me here today are a great group of franchisees. First, we have Kirsten Pigaster, owner of Ace Hardware in Longmont, Colorado. Next, we have Rob Richmond, who's the owner of Fast Signs in Ontario, Canada, and he's joined by Jen Hill, the customer service rep for his location. We also have Amy Legg and Kelly Watts, who are co-owners of Wild Birds International. Wild Birds Unlimited. They have 4 locations, and I can only imagine that alone created a lot of interesting dynamics during this difficult time that we'll be able to talk about. During this year, there have been some businesses that were essential, and those businesses have boomed, and there have been other businesses that have not been able to benefit from that designation, and they've struggled during this time. So I'd like to start by kind of just getting a pulse of what this has been like for each one of you. Maybe you could start by telling me how long you've been in business and just kind of an overview of how you've been impacted during this time. Kirsten, let's start with you.
All right. Thank you, Mary. I have been with Ace Hardware. I'm a second generation owner. So 30 years I've been with Ace, bought and purchased the business from my parents. We were very fortunate. I have to say up front, we were deemed essential at the beginning. And although we have had our struggles, business revenue has not been one of them. So the home improvement industry has benefited greatly from this situation. People are at home. They want to, improve that home that they're staying in. They've done a lot of painting. They did a tremendous amount of gardening. And so we have been very fortunate. Our struggles have been in other areas, which I think we'll get to in a little bit.
For those who are not as fortunate, they are very jealous to hear that revenue was not impacted. But there have certainly been a lot of other things I'm sure you've had to deal with. Let me go on to Rob. Tell us what your situation has been like with your Fast Signs location.
Yes, thank you, Mary. We have been running this business up in Kitchener, Ontario now for 10 years. Actually, 2020 started off very well for us. We'd got a milestone of a key sort of sales number that we were trying to hit this year, and January and February were terrific starts to the year. And then all of a sudden, obviously, COVID hit. And I'll be honest with you, our business at the beginning, it just flatlined. We are a business-to-business provider, and the business sector got spooked here and literally shut down everything. Nobody bought anything. We did quickly pivot. We looked at what we could do in our market segment. We looked at the types of obviously skill sets that we had and the things that our clients might need. So we became quickly proactive in sort of putting together designs for sneeze guards, for face shields, and obviously then signage that was directly related to COVID information and warning signs. So having seen an initial complete drop actually, so something like 80, 90% down, we went to having one of the best months we've ever had then in the summer, followed by another complete drop once we got past the initial sort of burst of COVID stuff that we supplied. So it's really been a roller coaster year for us. And obviously we continue to be in that situation as we face a looming lockdown here in Canada in the next couple of weeks is what we anticipate. So that's our story.
A rocky ride, right? And at the moment, not an end in sight.
No.
So those are the kinds of things we're going to be addressing during this time. But Amy and Kelly, why don't you shed some light on your situation? I do think it's unique that you have various locations in different parts of the country. How have you dealt with that?
Yeah, it's been an interesting challenge, Mary. I will say, up and down. We're a little bit like Kirsten in terms of the fact that we have been deemed an important business or an essential business in most of our markets. Some markets where we are considered a feed store, a pet food store. So we've been able to stay open. We did have closures in the immediate term right after COVID of the inside of the stores, but continued with curbside pickup as well as online delivery. So Kel and I are fairly new to the whole franchise situation. Relative to the others on the panel, we've only been doing this a little over 5 years. So we're both retired corporate executives. So we have learned as we have gone, to say the least. So kind of up and down, and to echo some of the other comments, pivoting quickly has been some of the most important part of staying ahead of this thing and trying to keep the wheels on the bus. So some success, some, to your earlier point, Mary, things we would not like to repeat that we have learned along the way. So revenue has not been our challenge, but certainly challenges with regard to how we continue our close personal relationships we have with our customers, which is what we've hung our hats on over the years, and also keeping our teams in place. So those have been some of our most critical challenges, but we're learning something new pretty much every day, and no end in sight, like you said.
Well, let me jump on that particular topic then, because obviously revenue is what we care about the most at the end of the day, but then there are other components that have been greatly affected by this, and you just brought up two of them with how it's impacted your personal relationships with the customers. All of you are in industries where building that relationship is important, and you hit on your staff. I mean, recruiting can be hard in the best of times. So maybe let me just follow right back up with you and ask you, let's separate those things and talk about customers first. How have you been able to pivot to make it so that even in this time where people want curbside pickup and they don't necessarily want to come in and talk to you, what kinds of things have you been able to do to still keep that relationship intact?
Well, I would say that the primary thing we've used to keep our customers engaged is social media. We post a lot on Facebook and Instagram. We have maintained our marketing spend throughout COVID, despite some advice that we should not do any advertising. Before I was a lawyer, which was my corporate background, I was in advertising, and I was always of the mindset that you'd never stop. People who tend to stop marketing in a downturn have just more to catch up on when things turn around. So we let our marketing plan kind of still, roll on as we had planned back in January. So I think keeping our customers engaged through social media and through a constant contact with through our postcard program and things like that, it really, really made a difference for us. Plus, I would say that just the curbside pickup alone, we still would interact with our customers. Obviously, we maintained our distance, but we would still answer questions. People would still call the stores and talk to our staffs about their various questions about the hobby and what bird they saw and how to feed it and all that kind of stuff. So, those were kind of our focal points to maintain that customer relationship.
We've gotten good too at online videos. We did a lot of in-store seminars prior to this whole thing, and right. that was education piece for us is a big part of how we continue to grow the business and engage people in the hobby. So our managers have gotten pretty good at doing online videos of themselves about particular topics. What's happening in nature at this time? Even, singing songs about what's happening, and it's Christmas. And, one of our managers just did one on my favorite things from The Sound of Music. So we've gotten unbelievably creative, and it's making our customers laugh and keeping things light a little bit. And that has helped them still feel connected to the teams in the stores.
And if you can make people laugh right about now in this environment, you are doing something right?
Yep, absolutely.
Kirsten, let me ask you, because when I think of a hardware store, I think of myself as a customer and how much I rely on the knowledge of the staff that's inside to help make buying decisions. How have you guys coped with that during this pandemic? And do you have any tips for other people?
Well, I think there is a little bit of a mindset shift. I know there was in terms of our team. We're very used to that personal interaction with our customers, as are all the people here on the panel. And it's very satisfying once you work through a project with a customer and send them on their way with everything they need. And you've had some interaction and you say, hey, have a great day, And you don't always get that satisfaction with an online order or something like that. And so we really have had to help change our team members' mindsets, that's still a customer. You've still really helped them. You've made their day. You maybe made their day because you delivered it to their car, or you delivered it to their home, or you had what they wanted and they didn't have to go shopping for it. So it's a little bit of a mindset shift. As far as helping people with their projects, our phone lines were jammed. And that was something that I didn't immediately think of when the whole thing started and we started doing online orders. But when people are calling for curbside pickup or calling to ask if we have something in advance of coming because they didn't want to come out unless they had to, it really, that was a big deal. And we really had to kind of retool our phone etiquette, our phone, captains. We had to have people who just answered the phone. So really there was a shift there, but I think our team did a really good job with it.
That's really interesting because home improvement, as you said before, definitely boomed during this time. Rob and Jenny, let me ask you, your customer is a little different. Yours isn't the average consumer. Your customer is typically a business owner, and your model is a little different. It's not the typical just place an online order and you're filling that order. So tell me what unique things you faced during this time and how you were able to deal with those things.
Maybe Jen can speak in a minute. I'll just say sort of from an overall business management perspective, the things that have got us this far, 10 years into the business, still hold true during a pandemic. So our ability to respond quickly, to stand by our quality, to service, to keep our team motivated and ready to respond to any opportunity that came our way, was still the right approach in this pandemic. Yes, we couldn't visit customers in their place of business, but there were still parking lots to be to stand and meet in. The weather was good up in Canada until now, so generally there were still opportunities. And as I've said to you guys before, there's still plenty of food at the buffet. You just have to be far enough up the line to get fed. And that's kind of been our approach, has been to make sure that we're ready for every opportunity that came our way. I think Jen can probably speak to a little bit about our online presence during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do all the marketing at our location, and I never stopped marketing at any minute of this. If anything, I doubled down and gave it 120%. Every day the premier would speak and I would have posts ready to go within minutes right after to let our clients know what our new policies were going to be, what maybe sneeze guards for decals and safety posters needed to be for restaurants for Friday. I was really quick on the draw. We saw a lot of great feedback from doing curbside pickup because I'm the person that brings it out to your car. I'm also the person that answers the phone, and I will always remember there was this wonderful lady, her name was Victoria, and she had 6 kids. And she's like, I can take this. I said, no, let me bring this out to your car for you. And she's like, thank you so much for doing that. So I loved to see that. As well, I run a blog called Client Spotlight, where I do a deep dive, and I've done some amazing projects so far. We've helped several businesses reopen, such as like the St. Jacobs Market and Belgian Nursery, since they were closed during COVID. Actually, and I'm writing a new blog right now about a business that's opening up for the first time. So it's been a wild ride, as Rob had said before, but it's been a great experience with our customers, knowing that we're still here when that, even if people worked at home, we were still here to help them. And just knowing that we are here for them has put their minds at ease, knowing that if they need a sign for Friday, because that's what the premier says we need, they'll know that they'll get it Thursday night. And that has not changed from COVID to today.
Sounds like you guys have kept a very good attitude at your location. And I think we all know how important that is during this time. Kirsten, maybe could you kind of dovetail on that and tell me about some of the challenges you had with staff attitude? Our employees are up against a lot right now. We have people who have families at home homeschooling their children. We have people who have to be out for 14 days at a time sometimes. How did you deal with recruiting new people, keeping happy the people that you had, and all of that during this?
It hasn't been easy. There's a lot of pressure, especially for frontline workers who are there in front of the public all day long. I think that we've tried to be very supportive of them in terms of protective gear, requiring that customers have protective gear and those sorts of things. But aside from that, we not a hardware store on the planet doesn't, we depend on retirees for a large portion of our workforce. We have a great retired team, but when this first started, they felt like they needed to stay home, and that was okay. So in the heat of battle, we were down about 30% in terms of our team, in terms of the number of people we had. And, I'm just so proud of the way everybody else jumped in. Everybody else understood, everybody else jumped in and made it happen. We had conversations with them continually about what made them feel comfortable. And everybody actually came back. I think probably only about one person didn't come back. And so I think it's really just showing that compassion, that empathy for the fact that this is hard. And we're getting used to some of the things, but every time we get used to something, I feel like something new kind of pops up, and being very flexible. And we've also really tried to find new ways to, we can't all share a pizza right now. That's not a good idea. But we had a food truck come. And so every meal was individually made, and we were able to buy food for the team. And I think sometimes it's just those little things, we've ordered fun masks and let them wear them. They choose their own mask. We don't tell them what mask to wear. They need to be comfortable. And so it's just that empathy. And I hope, honestly, I think that's something that we take forward.
That's a really good point. Talk about a takeaway that maybe came to our forefront because of this pandemic, but that we really need to carry with us as we look at business in the coming year. Kelly and Amy, let me ask you on this issue of staff, since you have multiple locations, I can only imagine that you felt the pain that the other folks felt, but times 4. How did you deal with that when you're not there? I hear Kirsten and Rob and Jen talk about how they jumped in sometimes when there were problems with staff, but you couldn't necessarily jump in because you weren't physically there. How did you deal with that?
Well, thankfully we had very strong managers in each store, and they're spread out. We have a store in Seattle, 2 in St. Louis, and 1 in Austin, Texas, and we live in Missouri. So we had to really rely on those leaders in those stores to manage the staff expectations and their protection. And we had to really be kind-hearted to those people who felt fearful of coming to work. And much like was said before, a lot of our staff is retired. So, we have younger staff that wasn't as scared to come to work as we did the older staff. And so, the hours fluctuated among stores and things like that. But it did put a strain on our teams. Our Austin manager walked out one day, basically just threw up his hands and said, "I'm done. I can't take it anymore." Because we were getting inundated with phone orders and online orders, and he just couldn't take it. He was a fairly young kid, and he just couldn't manage the chaos. So luckily, though, the other managers are very seasoned. They've been around a long time. They have a lot of amount of retail experience, so they were able to kind of manage the situation in their stores. But we allowed people to take off if they felt it necessary. We provided PPE to kind of keep everything safe for them and our customers. And we were able to weather it pretty well. But we took a very conservative approach when we would actually reopen our doors. For example, in Seattle, that was the last of our 4 stores we reopened to the public. And we waited until July, even though we could have opened probably a month earlier. But our staff was very concerned about reopening. But once we reopened, it actually got better because we had the phone traffic died down, the online orders dropped off. So the stress level likewise came down. So it worked out.
I think you make an interesting point about the online orders. So let me dive into that a little bit. Based on what each of you has learned during this pandemic, I'm wondering if there are any technology changes that you plan on making going forward. We talked about the compassion changes that we want to make, and we want to, take what we've learned from this and not let that go. But I'm wondering if there were any lessons learned in terms of online ordering or ability to serve customers in a variety of different ways that you might have been able to take forward. So Kelly and Amy, I'll go ahead and restart with you. Was there anything that you'll plan to keep as you go forward or change as you go forward?
I think what we will keep is the ability to flexibly move in our businesses inside the 4 walls. We were heavily set up toward an in-person customer experience. And when this all started to happen, we didn't have the space to pack multiple orders in the back. We didn't have the space to stage orders for customers who wanted to pick up at curbside. So we've had to reallocate some space to make that make sense. The technology piece in large part is provided by the franchise, and they've done an outstanding job of trying to keep up with our needs. But with regard to how we fulfill those orders on the back end, those are changes we've made that will have to stay in place, knowing that this could continue going forward for quite some time.
Kirsten, what about you? Because I would imagine you'd love to have it go back to the way it was and have that personal customer service again. Are there any technological aspects that you are hoping to keep in place and keep advantage of in the future?
It's interesting because Ace, we go through acehardware.com for our online purchases, and it works very well. Although, given the surge in online ordering, it broke a little bit, and Ace was very responsive in making changes, and they have a plan to do about 5 years worth of work in about 5 months. But what I will say, and I'm sure this is a big deal for Kelly and Amy as well, it's our in-store processes in utilizing the technology that we figured out needed to be really solid. And so, when we'd been doing a couple of online orders a day, it was really easy to kind of not have a really strict process in place. And then when we started doing 40 or 50 online orders a day, you really need a process. You really need to walk through that, and everybody needs to know exactly what to do, where to find that order, and how to help the customer with the order, when they come pick it up or it gets delivered. And so I would say that the real key takeaway is I don't want to get to the point again where we get lazy about that. And the process and that process and that training and that documentation is important. And if we leave that in place, even if things die off a little bit, I think it's here to stay. Don't get me wrong. Our service will be far better to those customers if we heed that and kind of make sure those processes and training are in place.
That makes sense. And Rob and Jen, I wonder about you, because you are in a very, again, you're a business to business brand and you provide a very customized experience for your customers. So are you looking forward thinking maybe we need to optimize some technological advances, or do you really want it to go back to how it has been?
Well, Mary, we did, obviously we've looked at ways that we could leverage technology to help us throughout this, but, the harsh reality, well, not the harsh reality, the reality is that we are a consultative type of business. We're business to business. We go to our customer sites, we take a look at their built space, and we consult and advise and come up with solutions for them. Very difficult to do without a site visit oftentimes and meeting face to face. But that said, we've done a lot more of that by phone, by email, of course, where we can. And we continue to post a lot of stuff onto Instagram to highlight to people what is available to them. So especially during COVID, obviously lots of pictures of sneeze guards, which aren't particularly interesting creations, but nonetheless, people needed to know what was available to them. So I don't think that we will be leveraging any additional technology for our customer interactions. I'm still trying to find a way to use technology to help our staff and our internal processes move to a more flexible work environment. So obviously we're in Canada, winter months are tough, driving in snowstorms is not much fun. And if there was a way for me to be able to pivot that piece of my business to allow some flexibility into when we're in the office, when we're not in the office, and how we can still service the customers at the right level, but build some flexibility into my team's lives. Because I will say that when we were home at the beginning and we were doing lots of calls and we were rotating people in and out of the business based on the health advice, my staff loved it, quite honestly. It was a nice balance. They had this really different balance of work and home and stuff. And obviously then once everything sort of got busy and we opened up again, we're back into the 9 to 5 here in the space. So if there's a way for me to leverage technology to go back to a hybrid model, I would certainly like to do that.
It's always nice when we can keep the staff happy and in balance, right?
But it was critical. Yeah.
Right. It's critical, particularly at a time like this, whereas we talked about, staff has like a variety of things distracting them and a variety of demands on their time and their energy. So anything we can do to accommodate for that makes the whole system work smoother, right?
Right. Absolutely.
All right. I'd kind of like to end by going around to each of you and just asking for that best nugget, that best piece of advice that you have for each person who's watching. What are some key takeaways? Kirsten, I'll kind of start with you. What is the best advice for you have for another franchise owner who is watching this and really just wants to know the key to surviving a year like 2020?
Well, I know it's hard. It's really hard right now. And the thing I keep telling myself is if we don't come out of this better business, then it's kind of all for naught. So if it's going to be this hard, we need to learn something and we need to take it forward. I think the thing about, empathy with our employees, I think will forever change the way we handle somebody when they say they're sick. Not that I don't think we were not compassionate before. I think now we might be more encouraged to say, you know what, stay home, stay away. Where somebody might have come with a cold before or something like that. And so, like I said, the processes and the procedures and the nimbleness. And I will tell you, we have seen some amazing things out of our people. We have identified in our organization some absolute rock stars, some people who were able to really handle the pressure. And so let's take them forward too. Let's really take them with us and run, because we know that when the going gets tough, these guys, they're guys and gals, are really able to withstand the pressure and move us forward.
You really see what people are made of during times like this, don't you?
Definitely.
Yeah. Kelly and Amy, what about you? What is your best piece of advice for those who are watching?
I think stay nimble and be ready to react is one of our key takeaways. We kind of have gotten in a rut, or had gotten in a rut in the past. This is how we do business. This is what our customers want from us. And we've learned over time that we've had to change that. So stay nimble. And the other thing, kind of to hit on Kirsten's point, is listen to our customers, listen to how they want to be serviced, listen to what they're asking us for, and respond, and listen to our teams in the stores, and enable them the flexibility to do what it takes to take care of our customers in the best way. Like she said, we have had some unbelievable things come out of this. Our teams have really stepped up and gotten creative with how to not only handle the volume of business in a different way, but also to connect with our customers virtually and at the curb, and through different kinds of ways that they've come up with on their own. So we've kind of learned to, take a step back and let them really hear what their customers want, and go down that road to take care of them in the best way possible.
Which is interesting, because that's what we know we need to do all the time, right?
Absolutely.
It's just really kind of underlined it for you, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. I was only going to add one thing, and that is, I think when something like this happens, which, people call a black swan event, it just comes out of nowhere and throws the entire world upside down. You can't really prepare for that, but when it happens, you can't put your head in the sand and pretend that it doesn't exist and that it's just going to go away. I mean, we had to act very quickly, and I think businesses who didn't are probably the ones suffering the most right now. So I would just say you've got to be very quick on your feet.
I think that's very, very good advice. Rob, I wonder, for your Fast Signs location, you are in Canada, and many of the people watching may be in the United States, and different countries have dealt with this different ways. So I wonder if there may be something that's happened to you that we could all learn from, that maybe we didn't do so well in the United States. How is your experience
That's
different?
the politically charged question.
You could share we may not know of, right?
Yeah. No, obviously this is a global pandemic, and we all face the same challenges. I mean, there isn't a lot of difference between our two countries. The one thing I would say, and this is not a political position at all, but the Canadian governments, the federal and the provincial governments, generally, I mean, you can always be critical, but generally they've made the right steps so far. And I would have to say the support that we've received as a business, both in terms of cost support as well as cash flow in terms of loans from the institutions, they've been critical to us. Now we're very fortunate that we're a business that was able to pivot. Our sales have been impacted this year, but nowhere near to the extent that some businesses have. So we're very, very grateful for that. And then with the aid of the different levels of government, we're well positioned to manage our way through this next sort of 3 or 4 months, where it's going to be critical until a vaccine sort of appears on the horizon. But my message to any franchisee or any business owner right now is, don't panic. I mean, the last thing your business needs right now is an owner that freaks out because he doesn't know if he or she doesn't know if they're going to make it. Whether you're going to make it or not, you're not going to help your business by panicking. So don't panic, breathe, assess the situation, work on your team. Make sure your team is stable, that they know that they have a career ahead of them with you. If they're good people, you want to make sure that you protect them through this phase. Don't cut costs just be in the short term because you think you could save a few bucks here. You're going to need that team when you get through this on the other side. So that's really been our focus, has been to make sure that our team building and our bonding has been doubly strong this year because it's needed to be. We've needed to carry each other through this. And me as an owner, I will do anything I can to protect the team of people that I have, because that's why we're here 10 years into this. And that has been the number one focus for us this year.
Well, I think that's a really good note to end on, because it's good advice in all of business and all of life, and particularly during a time like this, where there are so many challenges and so many reasons why we have to stay positive and have to stay nimble. And I really appreciate that you guys have taken this time to share those lessons learned and then what you plan on doing moving forward. And thank you for joining us. Thank you. I know you're up against a lot right now, so just taking the time to do this and share this information with everyone is very helpful. So good luck to all of you, and good luck to everyone watching. I hope all the information that we've been able to share has been helpful to you. Thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
LOCALACT is the premier local digital marketing platform for franchises. From hyper-local advertising campaigns on Google, Facebook, Bing, and Yelp, to local business profile management and online performance reporting, LOCALACT gives you the tools you need to increase revenue for your own business. Our team of local marketing advisors is ready to help put your business front and center in your local market, so you can start converting more online shoppers into actual customers today. LOCALACT. Everything is local.
Since 1960, IFA has worked for the franchising community, celebrating the unique power of our business model to launch and grow brands that consumers know and trust. Brands are the bedrock of franchising, not just a name, but an unmistakable message of quality, consistency, and efficiency that is vital to how our members operate. Brands, together with their local franchise owners and the businesses who support them, are why franchising works. Because each of the 733,000 franchise establishments across the U.S. tells a story of opportunities created, 7.6 million jobs across 300 unique brand sectors. And IFA is working to promote, protect, and enhance them all. Your stories help us make an impact at every level of government, fueling the efforts of IFA's advocacy and government relations team, informing the message we take to policymakers, helping us create a business environment that helps franchise brands grow. Our successes on the policy front work hand in hand with the best-in-class business development programs, professional growth opportunities we offer at the IFA convention, and at franchise programming events around the country. And as consumer trends and markets evolve, we are continuously developing innovative content to ensure our members have the tools they need to succeed. Through our in-person educational opportunities and regular webinar programming, as well as ongoing research into key issues impacting the industry, the IFA Foundation plays a critical role in enhancing how our members do business. The IFA Foundation is working to build a community that is inclusive, diverse, and a force for good wherever franchises operate. Through initiatives like Franchising Gives Back, we're shining a light on the charitable work of our members, opening doors for our returning warriors through BetFran, empowering our members through the Diversity Institute. And we are ensuring that the rising generation of talented entrepreneurs and innovative leaders have a platform to jumpstart their entry into the marketplace, providing mentorship and scholarships through our Next Gen initiative. For 60 years, IFA has provided a unified vision for the franchise sector, strengthening the ties that bind our community and championing the power of brands to create incredible value for your business.
Location 3 is the preferred digital partner of franchise brands, helping the world's most recognizable multi-location businesses drive increases in customers, brand awareness, and revenue since 1999. We can help you make better sense of your marketing data, create balance between national and local advertising programs, and support local business owners with targeted digital marketing. Contact us today to learn more. Location 3, Enterprise Strategy, Local Activation.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session on how to reach local consumers with Google. I'm very happy to be here with you all today. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is David Mottram, and at Google, I work on our local ads products to help businesses reach new and nearby customers and drive more local sales, bridging the gap between online and the offline worlds. Additionally, I'm grateful to partner with LOCALACT, the International Franchise Association, as well as local and franchise businesses like yours at this critical moment in time. We know the current situation in local business space is both dynamic and unpredictable, and we also recognize this moment is influencing an accelerated shift to merge the digital and physical worlds. We're both are becoming more blended. Consumers are more reliant today than any time in the past on our local resources to make their in-store decisions. We understand the shift is not a simple and easy change to adapt to right off the bat. Therefore, my team's job is to create the right tools for you and provide the most valuable insights and information to help you succeed now and also in the future. This includes helping you better connect with customers, use data to unlock actionable insights, and grow sales for your business despite the ever-evolving landscape that we're currently in. So we have a lot to unpack in these next 35 minutes. Our session today will be divided into 3 main sections. First, we'll explore the latest Google trends and insights around consumer behavior, particularly as it relates to local and nearby. Then we'll highlight some of the latest essential strategies to help local businesses succeed in the present environment and help you prepare for what's ahead, including how Google and our tools can help support you. And then finally, we'll dive into a quick myth-busting session before getting you off to your very important midday break. All right, so let's get started. So we know that both businesses and consumers are facing a lot of disruption right now. And the rate of change and unknowns is at a weekly, if not a daily cadence. Despite all of these challenges, there are 3 major search and consumer behavior trends that have emerged and accelerated since the start of this pandemic. Consumers are doing 3 main things. Number 1, they're searching for what's local and nearby. 2, they're searching for what's available. And 3, they're searching for what's convenient and safe. The importance of brands being hyper-local and tuned into what their customers need at a personal and local level is nothing new, right? However, because of the pandemic, this is even more critical now than ever before. Consumers need help navigating this changing market, and they turn to Google for that local information. When people do shop in store, they'll plan ahead and research online. Prior to the pandemic, the in-store shopping experience often began long before shoppers arrived at the store. This is even more true today, as availability and local convenience has become more of a priority. In fact, 68% of shoppers said they confirm online that an item is in stock before heading out and going to buy it. Additionally, we're seeing a growing customer preference for shopping locally that will likely continue through the holidays and beyond. So understanding the local buying intent will be paramount. Especially, as you can see here, that 66% of shoppers said they plan to shop more at local small businesses. This provides an opportunity for you to provide shoppers with the right information about products available at your store, operating hours, and health and safety policies that you're currently using. So in addition to proximity, availability is undoubtedly a priority. For example, searches for available near me have grown globally by more than 100% since last year. We're seeing this growing consumer preference continuing throughout the holidays and expect it to likely continue after that as well. And finally, as for convenience and safety, we're all aware of the current limitations and intricacies around shopping and even dining out right now. So when people decide to shop and dine, it's no surprise that safety and convenience ranks high in their decision-making process. So shoppers are seeking options to get their products in a way that are comfortable and easy for them. We're seeing huge increases in consumer searching for store pickup and curbside pickup, with the surveyed shoppers saying that these options are beneficial even if there are no restrictions put upon them. So reducing the friction for the omnichannel shopper with increased fulfillment options will be a key driver for your business success. Okay, so now that we've reviewed the latest local consumer trends, I'd like to dive into how you can use technology and digital specifically to keep up with these rapid shifts and reach consumers in the most effective way. The good news is that we've created our local ads products to help hardworking local and franchise businesses like yours reach new customers, leverage data and technology to manage the unpredictability, and ultimately drive the best outcomes for your stores. Before we dive into our most recent local ads products, I'd like to first start with what we consider to be the most critical and foundational resources for your local business, and that is a business profile. The business profile for your location is within Google My Business and is available at no cost to you. As discussed in my colleague's session yesterday, Carissa, you can think of the Google Business Profile as a sort of digital storefront for your business. It allows you to showcase valuable information that will help customers plan their business to your location. An updated business profile is critical for customers to not only find you, but to get the most updated information for them to make their shopping decisions. So how should you be using your business profile, particularly right now during COVID? You want to use this profile in a way that helps your customers plan and prepare for stopping by your location safely. For instance, you can proactively communicate changes that affect your business, such as temporary closures or updated business hours. You can add or edit business attributes in your business profile to include, the offer pickup, delivery, or even some new attributes like curbside pickup or no contact delivery. You can also indicate if in-store shopping is currently not available. If you're taking new safety measures, like I'm sure most of you are, like taking staff's temperatures, sanitizing between customers, or appointments and reservations are required, you can add these new health and safety attributes, which will be featured prominently on your business profile to inform your customers on how they and your employees are keeping safe. Okay, so now segueing into our latest local ad products, local campaigns. I'm sure you already know how important it is to connect with your customers individually and personally, and to provide them with the right information they need that's locally relevant to them. But in this new COVID context, where things are constantly evolving, it might feel almost impossible to keep up with the with this and even intimidating to manage. To make local marketing challenges like this easier to tackle, we started building this a few years back and actually launched it in alpha back in 2018, or I guess Q4 2018. We also know how impactful ads can be when reaching local consumers, especially right now. As we talked about above, search and digital ads are a critical touch point in the consumer journey and decision-making process. So what are local campaigns and how can these help your business? So at a very high level, local campaigns allow you to reach millions of local consumers across Google to highlight your store locations with one simple campaign. As we just discussed, at the center of all of this is your business profile on Google Maps, which is where ads are directed to from the local campaigns in addition to your website, making this truly optimized solely for the offline goals of people going to your location. I think of your business profile as two main things. One, your digital storefront. It allows you to showcase all the information people need in order to make their decision to come inside. And two, when they arrive, it acts as a conversion that will be reported back in the campaign. So now diving into the product itself and all of the formats. As you can see here, local campaigns make it possible for you to reach customers throughout the entire customer journey in one simple campaign. Each format is dynamically designed to drive the best possible performance for each platform. With a quick and easy setup, your ads will show to potential consumers who are located nearby or show interest in locations like yours. Your ads in particular will show in the digital spaces consumers already frequent, like Google's most popular platforms, including YouTube, search, maps, and your business profile, along with the millions of partner websites and apps on our display network. For example, your customer may be watching videos on YouTube, and in that property, we will show the ad if we believe that they are likely to visit a store like yours. This ad is your video creative with a link to the stores that are nearby to them below it, as you can see here. We also recognize that not every business has a video creative on hand. So actually, we recently launched something called the Video Ad Builder. It's a free self-service tool that animates static assets, images, text, logos, with music from our libraries, along with simple editing and customization tools like adjusting colors and fonts to your branding guidelines. This tool will quickly generate a really high quality short YouTube video that you can upload to this local campaign. Moving a little bit further down into the consumer journey, your customer may be looking at content on the web or in apps later in the day. If this site is part of the Google Display Network, which is the largest in the world and has access to over 90% plus of the global internet population, we will then show creative that looks similar to this, with the closest locations, again, featured. Perhaps your customer then opens Google Maps to plan their upcoming errands or daily routine. Now they can actually put an actual location to those previous ads by seeing your pin and branding featured pretty prominently nearby. Now they might do a search, in this case, for coffee nearby, and in this case, you'll see Dunkin' Donuts come up as part of their local search results. One thing to call out here is that this is different inventory than our traditional search ads, and is centered around local search results. So you don't need to pick which keywords to show on. We do all that hard work for you based on what we know to be the very highest intent searches in order for people to go to your locations. As we said, the majority of these creatives link to your business profile page. This business profile can also be used to promote specific products through the creative. As you can see here with the Dunkin' example at the bottom of the slide, where they're promoting, in this case, the signature lattes. It's making that call to action even more strong, and also a way to showcase, limited time offers as well. Plus, with local campaigns, it's one of the only exclusive ways where you can reach users via Google Maps by highlighting your branded logo and promoted pins. By using this promoted pin, your logo will be featured more prominently on the map, and you can let potential customers know you're nearby and conveniently located along their route when they're looking up directions and navigating during their time. With this format, you can better communicate with potential customers nearby, showcasing your products and offerings, and provide valuable information to help customers decide when and how to visit your location. So something to call out here as well is this is a brand new kind of format within local campaigns we launched recently, and you should expect to hear from us, later this year and early next. That will be more and more formats similar to this, and taking advantage of the great Google Maps property. So, for example, through local campaigns, you can customize your ads and keep your creatives up to date very, very easily. Here are just a few examples of use cases in order to use local campaigns. So number one, right, spotlight locations that are open or even reopening. Two, you could feature your back to normal hours and services. Number three, showcase your alternative fulfillment options as attributes like in-store shopping, delivery, curbside pickup, which is, as we talked about, something we recently added due to COVID. Relaunch special promotions or limited time offers or holiday services or promotions. And then lastly, inform on new safety measures like offering cashless or no contact payment options. And if you want to see like a little more advanced feature, you can also take advantage of the new product highlight feature. This will allow you to promote specific products that you're offering at your location. I look at it as the perfect solution to communicate to your customers new items, limited time specials, or even deals. So moving on to kind of a little bit of the, I call the magic of the product. One of the major benefits of local campaigns is that Google does all the hard, complex work for you with the help of automation. We all know that positioning your ads to the people who are nearby to your business is important. So Google knows where your business is located via the Google via the Google My Business account. Then, using our massive computer technology, we can show your ads across places on the web that are part of Google, reaching consumers throughout their entire planning and decision-making journey. Specifically, as it relates to your business, we can show ads to people who are nearby your business, helping you reach the right people at the right time, right by your business. For example, if you have a hardware store that's located in Chicago and another location that's located in St. Louis, Google will automatically optimize your ads, including your images, messages, and budgets you've set to increase visits and sales to both locations based on what's uniquely relevant for those regions. All with a goal to help you spend less time managing your ads and more time for what matters most to your business. As the market changes, your campaigns will automatically optimize to the goals you define as in-store traffic fluctuates without you having to do anything. Additionally, one of the most valuable aspects of local campaigns is that it helps you measure your investment. For me personally, this is where the real magic kind of happens. If you look back, even just 2, 3, 5 years ago, measuring offline business impact to your online digital ad investment was next to impossible. You can better understand your in-store impact of your campaigns in the real world with this reporting. Built in, we have what we call a per store report, which provides info on the local reach of your ads, store visits, calls, and driving directions to your business. With local campaigns, you can see a comprehensive view of all the overall number of store visits to your business and provide performance reporting down to the individual business level for all of your locations. So now diving into a recent case study, Denny's, whose primary goal was to drive more customers to, obviously their famous American diner, while also growing their Denny's on-demand ordering platform. So as I'm sure everyone here is familiar with that's tuning in today, to date, their Google Ads strategy has been split between national efforts and local efforts by regional franchisees and co-ops. So the approach they took was, in order to get more customers into the diners, Denny's and its agency launched a local campaign to reach more customers and access exclusive ad inventory on Google Maps and search local results. As for results, Denny's local campaigns helped them drive an incremental increase of 125% of store visits year on year since the launch of their campaign. The easy campaign setup and machine learning optimization has provided an efficient and scalable solution to run local advertising efforts across individual franchise locations, as well as overall at a Denny's, company level across their 1,500 locations. The product also allowed for easy swap of creatives to highlight limited time offers in their key co-ops. With the success of their national and individual franchise location campaigns, Denny's has now added additional co-op campaign funds by regional franchisees in several other markets. Moving a little bit from the store visit measurement, we've recently increased the availability of local campaigns to more advertisers. We wanted to ensure any business owner at any stage of their business could drive impactful real-world results beyond just store visits. Therefore, we launched the ability for businesses to focus their campaign goals on driving more calls or direction clicks to their locations. So now, even if your business isn't eligible for store visit reporting, you can still take advantage of local campaigns. You can access all of this via the reporting tool available when you use the local campaigns. In terms of these local actions, with it being such a recent launch, we've seen great success to date, but unfortunately, I don't have a US-specific example to share with you at this time. We have a few in the process, but not quite ready to be shared externally. So what I do have for you is Sun Sand & Sport. It's one of the largest sports retailers in the Middle East. As a group, they have 50 plus stores across the region, and they have the majority of its revenue, and not surprisingly, the majority of their revenue is coming from in-store sales. So as a leading sports retailer, which continues to embrace kind of the omni-channel approach in their ever-evolving digital landscape, measuring the impact of its digital investment on in-store traffic was a challenge. An alternative approach was needed to determine how digital campaigns drive footfalls to their stores. So how do they approach this challenge? So Sun Sand & Sports activated local campaigns and optimized towards local actions, which allowed advertisers to optimize towards their direction clicks and calls to their store to drive more customers to their physical locations. Within a month, Sun Sand Sports saw notable increases in foot traffic. They have now made local campaigns optimized for local actions as an integral part of their ongoing digital strategy. And as you can see here from the results, really impressive. They saw a 6x return on ad spend and a $1.66 cost per local action. Okay, so now moving on to our final section, let's quickly dive into the most common questions and myths we get revolving around our local ads, products, and specifically to local campaigns. Number one myth, our teams are already investing in offline marketing to drive foot traffic, brochures, TV, and radio. So we don't actually need to use local campaigns. So as we first discussed in the initial section of this session on consumer trends and insights, people are increasingly turning to digital to make decisions about offline purchases. So it's crucial to be there and when they do. In relation to the cost of print and offline advertising, local campaigns are, one, more targeted, ensuring your ad gets in front of the people looking at your location to drive store visits. And number two, they're more measurable, right? So allowing you to see how many store visits are being driven by the ads and allow you to tie return on investment, ROI, back to your digital investment. Number two, store visit reporting only tracks users that have opted into sharing location history. So it's very, very limited. That's actually not the case. So store visits is the simplest and most scalable of our solutions, especially when it comes when you compare it to time-consuming, expensive alternatives that are not as precise. So our mapping technology is built on 4 key pillars, which I'll discuss. So number one is I would call it massive investment in our mapping technology, if you think of Google Maps, right? So we rely on the same technology that powers Google Maps to capture the dimensions and geometry of over 200 million buildings around the world. So the data from Google Earth and Google Street View helps us get a most up-to-date external views of where buildings begin and end. And within that, measuring the Wi-Fi strength also allows us to differentiate between different stores or their boundaries. So if you think about a large grocery store with a coffee shop attached to it, it will be precise enough to tell whether someone is in the grocery store versus the coffee shop next door, or even in a mall situation. Are you on the first floor or the second floor, et cetera? Number two, obviously advances in machine learning. So we use our deep learning models to train large data sets to prioritize which location signals are most predictive of true visits. This helps us eliminate noise from activity that may look like a visit to your store but isn't. So is someone passing through to get to the parking lot, or are they an employee that is staying for hours? So this is particularly helpful, as I mentioned earlier, for measuring store visits in multi-story buildings or shopping malls. Number three here is the survey verification. So when our system detects that potential visits have occurred, we add an extra layer of verification by surveying select users about their store visit. So with that, we have something called Google Opinion Rewards. I'd recommend everyone here download it as well. It's kind of interesting tool, but it's a survey panel over 5 million users where we directly ask select people which locations they visited and see how this checks out against our predictions, and then use that data to fine-tune our machine learning models. Number four of the pillar is privacy, right? Which is the most important pillar that we have. So store visits are calculated based on an aggregated and anonymized data from users who have opted in to activate location history. This helps them get the most out of Google Maps, Google Photos, and many more of our products. So we uphold the strict conservative confidence thresholds for the data that you see, and only report on store visits when we're sure that the data meets the highest standards of accuracy. So store visits data can't be tied back to individual ad clicks, viewable impressions, or even people. And lastly, as I mentioned, if you don't qualify for store visits, then we have a way of measuring the offline impact by driving local actions, which are the calls or driving directions to your stores. Number three, I'm already running digital advertising. I don't want local campaigns to cannibalize my current search or other Google campaigns. As mentioned earlier, local campaigns use a different inventory than what is traditionally in search ads. And this is centered around local search results. So as you can see in this example, we call this our local unit, or LU, where you can do a search and it pulls up the maps at the top with a list of, let's call it 3 to 5 business locations, which is separate than the text ad you see on a search result page. And in this case, your business, in this case, Dunkin', would show on top of that local unit, or sorry, have the ability to show up on that local unit. And finally, local campaigns are entirely too expensive for me. So as we talked about, local campaigns are more targeted and measurable than most offline marketing, allowing you to reach the right people at the right time and drive better ROI. Local campaigns can work at the individual store or franchise level. However, it's worth noting that local campaigns are machine learning powered. And within that, data needs to be provided, and the more data, the better, right? So a general rule of thumb is to invest an amount that you're comfortable with, but also enough that would drive meaningful impact to your store, right? Is it really going to drive results if you spend $5 per location to drive people into that store? Probably not. So as a general rule of thumb, what we've seen to be successful here is usually between 1% to 3% of revenue per store is that percentage that we've seen work in the past. Another call out here, as I mentioned, is that it uses machine learning. So it takes some time for the campaign to learn and optimize upon itself. Therefore, we recommend at least 30 days of campaign results to measure performance, and for it to learn and optimize itself. If this may seem like too much, then obviously feel free to work with great local partners like LOCALACT or our internal account teams at Google to further help define recommended campaign strategies and budgets. Phew, okay. We've covered a lot in a very, very short amount of time. But out of everything we've discussed, there are 4 key things we think are essential as you plan your path forward. So number 1 is think and act local. Now more than ever is the time to fine-tune your local strategies and really understand the local intent behind customers' decisions. This will set you apart from competitors. The more focused, personalized, and hyper-local your messaging is, the better. Pivoting to automation. So making a long-term shift to automate as much of your marketing as possible will allow you to stay flexible, agile, and save time when addressing fluctuating demands ahead. And the more frequent you are able to keep your business information refreshed and updated, the more effective and efficient your automated digital tools will be in adjusting to the changing COVID landscape. Number 3, stay connected and transparent. So consumers are looking to brands to provide them with the right information in the right manner to help them make their purchasing decisions. Staying connected and engaged with your customers in a way that is clear, informative, transparent, and human will make all the difference. And then finally, optimizing your digital presence and tools. Digital is a critical touch point before a visit to your business, and it has become even more so during these new times. We saw this reiterated in the insights we shared earlier, with over 60% of consumers continuing to search for what is open and closed near them, even as places are actually reopened. Consumers are planning ahead, and online is where they're starting their shopping journey, which is why your digital presence and tools will play such a pivotal role now and going forward. So this wraps up the presentation portion of our session, and I hope you found this session to be insightful on how Google can help local and franchise businesses like yours reach new customers, leverage data and technology to manage unpredictability, and ultimately drive the best outcomes for your stores. I'd like to give a big thank you for you all and your time today, and I look forward to partnering with you all, LOCALACT, and the IFA even more closely in 2021 to help you reach your local consumer and drive even more sales and success to your business. With that, again, thank you for your time, and please enjoy your 15-minute break.
LOCALACT is the premier local digital marketing platform for franchises. From hyper-local advertising campaigns on Google, Facebook, Bing, and Yelp, to local business profile management and online performance reporting, LOCALACT gives you the tools you need to increase revenue for your own business. Our team of local marketing advisors is ready to help put your business front and center in your local market, so you can start converting more online shoppers into actual customers today. LOCALACT. Everything is local.
Since 1960, IFA has worked for the franchising community, celebrating the unique power of our business model to launch and grow brands that consumers know and trust. Brands are the bedrock of franchising. Not just a name, but an unmistakable message of quality, consistency, and efficiency. that is vital to how our members operate. Brands, together with their local franchise owners and the businesses who support them, are why franchising works. Because each of the 733,000 franchise establishments across the U.S. tells a story of opportunities created, 7.6 million jobs across 300 unique brand sectors, and IFA is working to promote, protect, and enhance them all. Your stories help us make an impact at every level of government, fueling the efforts of IFA's advocacy and government relations team, informing the message we take to policymakers, helping us create a business environment that helps franchise brands grow. Our successes on the policy front work hand in hand with the best-in-class business development programs, professional growth opportunities we offer at the IFA convention, and at franchise programming events around the country. And as consumer trends and markets evolve, we are continuously developing innovative content to ensure our members have the tools they need to succeed. Through our in-person educational opportunities and regular webinar programming, as well as ongoing research into key issues impacting the industry, the IFA Foundation plays a critical role in enhancing how our members do business. The IFA Foundation is working to build a community that is inclusive, diverse, and a force for good wherever franchises operate. Through initiatives like Franchising Gives Back, we're shining a light on the charitable work of our members, opening doors for our returning warriors through BetFran, empowering our members through the Diversity Institute. And we are ensuring that the rising generation of talented entrepreneurs and innovative leaders have a platform to jumpstart their entry into the marketplace, providing mentorship and scholarships through our Next Gen initiative. For 60 years, IFA has provided a unified vision for the franchise sector, strengthening the ties that bind our community and championing the power of brands to create incredible value for your business.
Location 3 is the preferred digital partner of franchise brands, helping the world's most recognizable multi-location businesses drive increases in customers, brand awareness, and revenue since 1999. We can help you make better sense of your marketing data, create balance between national and local advertising programs, and support local business owners with targeted digital marketing. Contact us today to learn more. Location 3, Enterprise Strategy, Local Activation.
Hi, welcome to our session. Thank you for joining Charles and me today as we discuss diversity and inclusion in the workplace. We're really excited to speak with you today, and our goal is to share some general best practices as well as some firsthand experiences when it comes to creating a more diverse and inclusive workplace. First, for introductions, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself and then turn it over to Charles. My name is Kelly Wilson, and I'm a principal consultant and senior manager of EEO compliance and diversity at DCI Consulting Group. I have over 15 years of experience and lead the diversity practice group here at DCI. All staff are industrial organizational psychologists, and we focus on HR risk management. My approach or my contribution to today's discussion is more the general best practices around embracing diversity and inclusion in your organization. Our main practices or our focus here at DCI is really helping companies to embrace diversity metrics and letting the data tell the story of where potential barriers lie and how to overcome those in the workplace to allow for a more inclusive workplace through policies, practices, and other procedures that you embrace. Specifically, some of the areas that we focus on when it comes to diversity metrics in organizations is focusing on pay equity, performance evaluation tools, evaluating policies and practices, as well as looking at the entire diversity of your company practices. So looking at your company profile, looking for potential opportunities for more diversity in your pipeline, as well as your selection practices, promotion practices, and retention. I'll go ahead and give a couple examples of what that might look like in your organization later on our presentation. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and let Charles introduce himself and give a brief overview of Wisdom Senior Care. Charles?
Thank you, Kelly. Good afternoon. How are you today? My name is Charles Thurston. I am the COO of Wisdom Senior Care franchise. We're based out of North Carolina. We have been franchising for 4 years. We've been doing senior in-home care for 14 years. We have 6 units, and we're just so appreciative of the IFA, Google, Location 3 to talk and share about diversity and inclusion.
Great, thanks, Charles. I know this topic is such a hot topic for companies right now, and it's a big priority for companies going into 2021. And I think some of those reasons is just because of the pure benefits around embracing diversity and inclusion in companies. We know from empirical research that there's many benefits to embracing diversity and inclusion, such as lower turnover, more creativity and innovation, improved problem solving, as well as higher quality solutions and decision-making processes, enhanced performance by employees, as well as an improved corporate image and just overall a competitive advantage for companies. At this time, though, I'd really like to hear from you, Charles, and your firsthand experiences around how you embrace this at your organization, and specifically providing an overview of your success in bringing in franchisees from diverse backgrounds via your nursing school.
Okay, great, awesome. Well, Wisdom Senior Care, we for our franchisees is diverse. We have an Asian couple that is our franchisees. We have single African-American females and single African-American males that are our franchisees. And with our school, which is Wisdom Health Academy, we have had a plethora of ethnic backgrounds from every diverse background you can think of, from the age of 18 up to 60. And in turns, that also helped for their employment, for their career paths, because some had different directions where they wanted to further their education, and also business ownership.
Thanks, Charles. I think with that, is there any other successful stories of how you were able to attract that talent to be interested in becoming the franchisee and creating that diverse culture for them to want to come work with you?
Yes. With the franchisees, they wanted to first better their life, with their goals and dreams of business ownership. And then if you look at with, let's say, our clients and customers / employees, because when we think about diversity, it's really a combination package. With our franchisees, they can be able to interact with all different types of clients, because the clients is the heartbeat of our industry. And we have a diverse background of clients in the industry in itself, but also in terms that's a diverse background for our employees. And what makes it attractive is that they can interact, have great conversations with their experiences, different languages, so that way they both can grow. And in turn, the franchisees, or the bottom line is they're creating the income that they want, but also being able to create income for longevity for our employees.
No, that's fantastic to hear. Thanks, Charles. I think the next question, and I think everyone listening will figure out that we're doing this more of a question and answer style. We really want to make it more of a conversation for you all to learn from both of us on different topics. And so the next topic that we'd like to cover is kind of twofold. If you're an organization or a business that hasn't been as successful, or maybe at the beginning stages of this D&I journey, where do you start would be the question. And I can go ahead and start that, but then we're going to lead into not just where do you start, but also how do you continue to create that diverse culture. I think from my perspective, as I said, I come from a very diverse, data-driven approach when it comes to letting it tell me the story. But it also starts beyond that. I think, when we get engaged with companies to look at their diversity metrics and tell a story with it, we first need to know that there's leadership involvement and buy-in. And I think that's the key to making this work within organizations. And we're seeing across the country a lot of leaders pledging commitment to D&I for many of the reasons why I already mentioned, but also it's a very good thing to do. It's the right thing to do. But one of the things that we are seeing is that they're pledging to set goals and to reach certain milestones within their organizations, which we applaud. However, one thing that we would want to look at if I was starting a journey with a company in this practice is to first assess what those goals could look like instead of setting potentially arbitrary goals. And one way we do that is by looking at company profiles. So what % of females or males are within a particular job in your organization, and comparing that to some labor market statistic. So we know that nationally there's about 22% of females that are sitting in executive level jobs. And so if we look at an organization's executive level jobs and we see that there's only 5% of females, we can run some statistical analyses to say, is that gap large enough for us to be concerned about? And should we actually look better or look more like our labor market tells us that we could look like? And if it does say that we have substantially different figures than what our national market or our geographical area that we're looking at tells us that we could look like, that's where we would want to set a goal. And we would strive to potentially start to look like that labor market within the organization. As I mentioned, it does take top leadership to embrace this and to communicate it, throughout the organization. But another way, if you're starting this, is to hold accountable the change of behaviors and not necessarily the achievement of a particular figure. And so one thing that we've always encouraged is setting up reward systems or performance evaluation tools that evaluate the practice that has changed or the contribution that the leader had in starting to make a change within the organization. So an example of that would be creating a better pipeline by using better resources or avenues to attract diverse talent within your organization. And so we would applaud that as a way to get to the next step. So I think that is at the most simplistic level. If you were starting, I think just evaluating your diversity profile and measuring it up against what the labor force would tell you that you could have for the qualified talent that's sitting out there in the labor force, and doing some just general comparisons to see where you might have some gaps in opportunities and where you're very successful. Because if you are very successful in some areas of your organization, you might want to tap into the managers or the talent acquisition team that's supporting some of the recruitment and other efforts into attracting and retaining that talent. And so I think, Charles, to you, I think, thinking back to where you guys started and where you are today, what's some advice or something that you can share with our audience about how to start their practice, as well as how to create that diverse culture to kind of retain it over time?
Sure. And Kelly, you're so right. And I embrace everything that you said. What's exciting to me, it really goes to a mindset. You have to have a mindset of transparency. You have to have a mindset of you want to change, especially with your culture and your mission of your values. Our values is faith, commitment, loyalty, integrity, and compassion. And so when we have different ethnic groups that come in through our organization, we let them know this is very transparent, but you have a roadmap that's right for everyone. It doesn't deviate if you're a male or female. It doesn't deviate, your gender or your color of your skin. It just says, okay, you want to grow, whether it's in senior care, in management, business development, And then it'll allow you, or administration, it'll allow you then to start growing within. And that's one thing that we have embraced with wisdom from day one to the present. And it's trickled down from the founder, which is Carolyn Thurston, to the newest employee that we have. But we also done this with our franchisees as well. And they do the same duplication effect with their employees. And keep in mind with the clients, when we have the clients and they see different diversity, then that gives them, number one, assurance of quality, gives them assurance of professionalism, and that goes over a period of time. And when they can embrace that and see the growth, then everyone wins and everyone's happy.
Great, thanks, Charles. I think one of the things that we wanted to cover also is, over time, how do you maintain that culture? How do you continuously, are you training? Is it just through pure policy and practice? But how do you keep up with the growth and scalability of your organization and kind of maintaining that inclusive culture?
Okay, great. Yes, we have in-service trainings periodically, normally about twice a month. Of course, we have the franchise training, and that's on a weekly basis. We've done quite a bit of Google videos. I mean, plug for Google. But all those tools, because we want to stay with the growing times. You have a generation that's younger, so of course they can do it on their mobile phones. They can be able to learn and see the culture, see the different mission statements to allow them to change and grow. Because they will come into situations where a client may say, well, I only want this particular employee, or I only want to work with this particular agency. And when you have situations like that, that's when you have to go back to the videos, have conversations with the leadership to say, what can we do to rectify this situation? So to answer that question, we do it on a weekly basis. We do in-house training, and we actually do modulars to help them grow as well.
Thank you, Charles. I think when it comes to the longevity, when I work with companies and we're looking at diversity metrics, we tend to see with the best practice employers that they are doing some type of analytics on an annual basis, and some are doing it at a monthly monitoring and or biannual monitoring to kind of evaluate like their progress part way or throughout the year. But we are seeing a lot of companies embracing metrics when it comes to looking at their pay equity practices between different race, ethnicity, and sex groups. We are seeing different performance or selection barrier analyses and other diversity metrics goals created at a 1 year or a 5 year plan. And I would say that, we love data, but also there is analysis paralysis. So know what your organization is comfortable committing to and evaluating and taking action on, because if you start running too many analyses and you can't keep up with it, it could be more harmful than doing the right amount of analyses and taking action on the results. I think, with that in mind, Charles, do you have any other tips or tricks that you would want to share around just your success and or any milestones that you had to overcome or hardships that you guys had to overcome that you were successful in doing so?
Sure. When we first started, Kelly, here's what's funny or unique. Now, of course, you can tell I'm African American, and Carolyn wouldn't share that at the beginning with our client base. Of course, when we had employees come in, that was fine. But over a test of time, we built a type of relationship professionally with the state of North Carolina and in the local area, the local cities. And with that, we've had clients slash, I know if we speak of other franchises, customers that's been with us 4 or 5 years, longevity. So therefore, it gives them a sense of confidence because they know that they're going to get great quality. But also on the flip side, it goes with the employees. We've had employees who've been with us 7, 8, 9 years. We have an average of them normally 1 to 3 years. And we always share with them when they first start that you can grow within whatever goals you want to do. We're here to support you, but it works hand in glove. You know, we have to have an open line of communications. We have to make sure that they don't feel inferior, that they have the quality. If they have the quality or the passion, we will help them so they can grow. And I think a lot of times what happens when you have these different ethnic groups, if you don't mind me saying, when they come into the work environment, they're going to have these fears, and they may not feel that they're inadequate enough to do the position. But what we found out through assessment, through different testing modules, this position might not be the best for them. Let's put them in another one instead of just shooting them out the door. Because we have to realize as the landscape is changing, and even with COVID, and as the general population is getting older, we have to embrace with the time. And when we can do that, we can all grow and succeed.
Thanks, Charles. And just pivoting real quick to another question that we had discussed chatting about is, are there different challenges that different industries may, face? And I know from my perspective, I see that I do see differences when it comes to how companies, how much effort they have to put into attracting talent or, winning that talent to come over to the organization because they're very, new or high demand positions that are just getting, engineering or the high tech type jobs that are. So I know there are certain challenges that we have to work through with companies to, one, identify what that talent, who's available to potentially be to be recruited for that position. But one of the things that I see is that if you are a company that's embracing diversity and inclusion and running some analyses and being competitive with pay and other inclusive policies and practices, that you're going to retain that talent a little bit better over time potentially and not have to worry about losing and then trying to win them back. So I will say I do see differences when it comes to newer positions or high versus high demand positions versus jobs that are, that are more tenured in nature, and you need a very senior person versus an entry-level person. But when it comes to looking at it from a data perspective, there are many source data through the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or you can look at online equal employment opportunity data from 2018 and prior years to kind of gauge what your potential industry looks like and or what all companies look like. And so you can benchmark those tenure jobs through those year one filings. There's also different IPEDS data that looks at graduation rates in new disciplines. So looking at graduation rates by certain disciplines, by certain years. So if you want to look at newer or evolving types of jobs and understanding, what your pipeline could look like, there is data that's more recent around the graduation rates that you can look at and compare your data to. And this is all in the name of evaluating your organization to see how well you're attracting that talent. Are you attracting talent to your organization that's equivalent to what it could look like and maximizing what that could look like from a diversity perspective? And then as far as, other differences, I would turn it over to you to kind of speak to other cohorts in your network and just, sharing anything that might be different challenges either within your industry or others.
Well, and that's a great question. Two-part. In our industry, we do have challenges somewhat, especially when we have different ethnic backgrounds. when they come, whether it's become a potential franchisee or an employee. Now, I'm gonna put it first for wisdom. As a Black company, they may say, well, the trust issue, the quality issue, the loyalty. As an emerging franchisor, yes, we are emerging, but in senior in-home care, we've been doing it for 14 years. So we know the industry. So the first part of it will be that we have to build that trust and that relationship to let them know, hey, we are professional at what we do. Let's give this an opportunity so that we can work together on the franchisee and employee side. Now let's flip it and look at other industries. Some of the other franchises, whether it's in the retail or the service industries, well, they may run into some of the same scenarios, especially when it comes to the leadership or the managerial part. And I really believe if they will have some conversations and build it around the relationships, communication, and trust, because when someone comes and they have the package that they can qualify to do, it might not be that specific position, but it could be something within the organization to really help them grow. Because when you look at the bottom line, and I'm gonna go back with the clients. So we have clients that is based on almost every ethnic background you can think of. The only biggest challenge we run into sometimes is the language. You know, I speak French, but I just know come see, come saw. But I don't know Spanish. But what's exciting is that when you can have employees or franchisees that can quickly or be able to speak that language and diverse enough to be able to engage with that client or employee, that's going to make them feel a little bit more confident. That's going to let them feel a little bit more, hey, I would like to be a part of that organization. I would like to grow with that company. Then that's when it starts. Because in reality, like you said, you have generations that are graduating and they're out in the marketplace, whether it's going to be for ownership or just high-level positions. They still got to have a lot of communications, trust, and building those relationships in order to succeed and win. So with our franchisees, we've done the same thing. Asian franchise, they've done that. They've been able to diverse and be able to communicate well with the different backgrounds. And even with give you an example, we have a single African-American young lady, and she's very young. She's less than the age of 30. Well, what will happen is sometimes they will look at her and say, well, you're still, kind of young. You may not have that experience, but actually she has experience in the health arena. So we'll leverage on the experiences and then take someone in the organization that can help pivot and help them, close that case or win, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think that leads into a discussion point I wanted to talk on really quick, which is, we're asked, how does a metric-driven approach sometimes help companies or franchisees? And one of the things that you just mentioned kind of alluded me to the fact that you might want to hear about basic qualifications or job postings. And so one of the things that we can do through analyses is to evaluate kind of the applicant process and identify potential barriers in the applicant process for who's selected into an organization. And we have found that sometimes that job descriptions or job listings could potentially be a barrier for certain protected groups or so certain race, ethnicities, or sex. And we have partnered with companies to overcome that barrier and to make it a more inclusive and sound and valid step in the process to allow for more diverse talent to come into the workplace. So I think your just example there just and although we're not perfectly aligned in our example, it does jive pretty well as to a metrics-driven approach for companies versus the example that you gave. So I think with that, Charles, do you have anything else that you would like to share as, any other tips or tricks?
Well, the other part would be is, just starting out from the beginning, having that mindset to change. Realize we're all in it together. We're not at the point where we got to point fingers here and there. Let's just work together. Because what is the bottom goal? What's the bottom line? To win. Win for the customer / client, making sure that they have a sense of loyalty, having a sense of, man, this is a great company that I can embrace with to purchase their goods and services. And then goes back with that employee. When we look at longevity and retention of employees, Kelly, the most important part of it is recognition. Yes, the money speaks loudly, but that recognition speaks even louder, giving them that sense of value, knowing that they belong and being a part of it, because then you'll have somebody say, I want to be a business owner. I want to be a franchisee. Regardless of the franchise, you're going to have some that want to do that, and then they're going to be so grateful when they get to the point at the end to say, man, I did it. When everybody else counted me out, I did it. And that's what's so exciting when we can do that and continue to move forward. So 2021, we're going to break the gates open, because this thing with COVID has to change so we can get back to making it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, and one thing I wanted to, let's all wish 2021 gets back to normal here. I know there's so many things that we could talk about with the impacts of COVID on the workplace, but sticking to our topic, I will, the one thing I wanted to share just for those franchisees, when you're thinking about diversity and inclusion in the workplace and where to start, I think the one thing that you want to be aware of is the different context of how D&I can come up in the workplace. One is a company can be a business can be very proactive and embracing it through top leadership, as well as through policies and procedures and monitoring through metrics and other, to monitor selection, hiring, retention, and promotion. But the flip side of it is the reactive side, right? Through complaints or, investigating internal company turmoil, going to litigation. And so companies, you want to be aware of all the benefits that we talked about, and kind of be on the proactive side of this, where you want to be doing the right thing and allowing for an opportunity for employees to be speaking up. And so one piece of advice that I would share is having that internal complaint process in place so that you can monitor it proactively before it gets external and you end up in a situation that you don't want to be in. And I think that gets to your point of trust and helping the culture and making people feel comfortable. If they're not having that place to go to put in a complaint and monitor it internally, would be a best practice. Any follow-up to that?
No, I totally agree, because, and what's so neat, Kelly, if I didn't know any better, I would figure you're part of wisdom, because we just had some of these conversations just not too long ago. And part of it is protection of the employees, because when they do go in some of the homes, because one thing I didn't share, we considered ourselves just like first responders. We're 24/7. And the only difference is we're going into the homes, and we want to make sure that the employees are protected as well as the clients. And they have that sense of feeling and assurance that the company is backing them. And that's the most important piece, because you're right. Day to day, when they go in, they have their personal life that they're dealing with, then they're dealing with their job. And when we can give them that assurance, and then they can go in and make that, what we like to say, keep our client, keep our senior happy. Are they happy in their homes? And when we can do that, we know we've accomplished that day. And you're right, when they can vet, send in a complaint and say, hey, this is a little bit too much, or this is what's going on, then we can have those conversations, be able to help them pass that hurdle and go to the next.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And having a team internally investigating things and making improvements in conjunction with other proactive initiatives that you're doing as a company. So I have some final kind of best practice takeaways to share, and then I'll turn it over to Charles to share any final thoughts as well as we're wrapping up our session. So just some final things I wanted to share is if you are going to engage in more of the diversity metric side, or launch any new initiatives or practices or policies within your organization, I highly advise that you involve your legal counsel in those discussions and or in our like attorney-client privilege protections. Those protections are key in protecting your franchise and the company from releasing those results publicly. Also, we tend to see that best practice employers in the space of diversity and inclusion are doing proactive analytics on their workplace and setting goals to kind of work towards over time through behavioral changes in the workplace. And the only other thing is that we tend to find a lot of synergy between legal, HR compliance, and diversity, as well as compensation and talent acquisition when it comes to having a very robust diversity and inclusion practice within the organization. Having a lot of synergy between those departments or those leaders does help to help with alignment of goals and better results for the organization. And also, I mean, the only other thing I would want to leave you with is the idea that incorporating employee resource groups to help one, not just is to help you with your internal initiatives as well. I mean, those groups are good for camaraderie. They're usually led by a leader or endorsed by a leader within the organization and can help you with other things like attracting talent to the organization. And so, again, I leave you with there are many benefits to embracing D&I in the organization, from selecting the right talent the first time, lowering turnover, overall competitive advantage. And we covered all those already, but it's a really good thing to do. And I think a lot of companies are embracing it going into 2021 for very good measures. So Charles, do you have any final thoughts?
Sure. Number one, don't be afraid to embrace diversity and change. And I think a lot of times, we as people or Americans or however we want to say it, we don't want to dabble into that space. It's nothing to be afraid of. I think if you keep that open line of communication and just take it one day at a time, because it works. To me, it's exciting because we all have to work together anyway. Why not do it together and just have fun in doing it?
Okay, and I think with that, I think, we just want to, thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen to us kind of go back and forth about some best practices and firsthand experiences on the D&I journey. And we hope that the content was useful for you and your D&I journey. And please reach out if you have any questions. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you so much, Kelly.
Thanks, it was great partnering with you.
Thank you.
LOCALACT is the premier local digital marketing platform for franchises. From hyper-local advertising campaigns on Google, Facebook, Bing, and Yelp, to local business profile management and online performance reporting, LOCALACT gives you the tools you need to increase revenue for your own business. Our team of local marketing advisors is ready to help put your business front and center in your local market, so you can start converting more online shoppers into actual customers today. LOCALACT. Everything is local.
Since 1960, IFA has worked for the franchising community, celebrating the unique power of our business model to launch and grow brands that consumers know and trust. Brands are the bedrock of franchising. Not just a name, but an unmistakable message of quality, consistency, and efficiency. that is vital to how our members operate. Brands, together with their local franchise owners and the businesses who support them, are why franchising works. Because each of the 733,000 franchise establishments across the U.S. tells a story of opportunities created, 7.6 million jobs across 300 unique brand sectors. And IFA is working to promote, protect, and enhance them all. Your stories help us make an impact at every level of government, fueling the efforts of IFA's advocacy and government relations team, informing the message we take to policymakers, helping us create a business environment that helps franchise brands grow. Our successes on the policy front work hand in hand with the best-in-class business development programs, professional growth opportunities we offer at the IFA convention, and at franchise programming events around the country. And as consumer trends and markets evolve, we are continuously developing innovative content to ensure our members have the tools they need to succeed. Through our in-person educational opportunities and regular webinar programming, as well as ongoing research into key issues impacting the industry, the IFA Foundation plays a critical role in enhancing how our members do business. The IFA Foundation is working to build a community that is inclusive, diverse, and a force for good wherever franchises operate. Through initiatives like Franchising Gives Back, we're shining a light on the charitable work of our members, opening doors for our returning warriors through BetFran, empowering our members through the Diversity Institute. And we are ensuring that the rising generation of talented entrepreneurs and innovative leaders have a platform to jumpstart their entry into the marketplace, providing mentorship and scholarships through our Next Gen initiative. For 60 years, IFA has provided a unified vision for the franchise sector, strengthening the ties that bind our community and championing the power of brands to create incredible value for your business.
Location 3 is the preferred digital partner of franchise brands, helping the world's most recognizable multi-location businesses drive increases in customers, brand awareness, and revenue since 1999. We can help you make better sense of your marketing data, create balance between national and local advertising programs, and support local business owners with targeted digital marketing. Contact us today to learn more. Location 3, Enterprise Strategy, Local Activation.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Really excited to bring to you some conversation around franchisee engagement and membership with the International Franchise Association. I'm Tam Kennedy, and I am acting today as your current chairwoman of the Franchisee Forum. And I'm joined today for a conversation about IFA franchisee membership with Azim Sajju. Azim and I are going to talk to you a little bit today about our kind of our roles in IFA and the usefulness that we have found with our membership in IFA. And of course, we're going to talk a lot of franchisee stuff. So Azim, would you please introduce yourself to everybody?
So hello, everyone. I'm Azim Saju. I am the vice chair of the Franchisee Forum, and I am a franchisee in the hospitality space and the president and CEO of a franchisee hotel development and management company called HDG Hotels.
Very good. And Azim and I have been friends for quite some time, partners in crime on the Franchisee Forum, and we have actually worked side by side through a very extraordinary year that we'd all probably like to forget, something we call 2020. And we really want to kind of talk about the impact that 2020 has had on franchisees, share a little bit about our stories as franchisees, and the support that we've both gotten and have given to the IFA during this remarkable year. So besides me, Tam Kennedy, as a member of the Franchisee Forum, I am a Taco John's restaurant owner. I own 8 restaurants in Minnesota and Iowa. And I also serve on the IFA's board of directors, the Franchise Relations Committee at IFA, and you'll often find me working on a lot of the pressing issues in the grassroots political area for small business. And so those that know me best know me as a grassroots advocate for small business. I'm a huge believer in Main Street, and I believe in Wall Street as well, but I think all the action really is on Main Street. And so I think most franchisees that we work with and talk with every day realize that our role, particularly during 2020, has been essential to almost every neighborhood across this country and in fact globally. So Azim, let's kind of start there. Let's set the stage and let's think about this time last year. Okay, tell me kind of based on how things were going in 2019, what you thought 2020 was going to look like. What did you really expect from this year in terms of business and growth and kind of some of the franchise functions that we both enjoy?
So like most franchisees and small business owners, I'm an optimist, right? So going into this year, we were very bullish. We were thinking that this was going to be our best year ever as a company. And January and February, we had our highest revenue and our best GOP ever in our company's history. And we began to hear things about this virus starting from, middle of early March. But, we're the US, right? And we always, in America, have the privilege to know that our country is always going to overcome. And, we have I think Americans have a Superman quality to them that, regardless of what it is, we're gonna make it. So
sure.
I never thought that a virus would do the kind of harm and damage that it's done. But what I did know even going into the year, Tam, is that while you're in business for yourself, you're not in business by yourself. And organizations such as the IFA, as you have shown through your leadership, are invaluable during good times and especially right now in being advocates for us as small business owners, but on a much larger scale. And that advocacy during good times is invaluable. And those friendships during good times are invaluable, but right now, even more so are invaluable. And but for the IFA, I wouldn't have friends such as yourself, which I've called on throughout the last several months, especially to commiserate with, get some inspiration from, just get some words of wisdom as we all struggle to navigate through this.
Sure. Well, my story is very similar to yours. I really was enjoying a very successful end of 2019. It's at this time every year that my leadership team and I get to work on projecting kind of what next year is going to look like. We do a 3-year vision and a 1-year plan. We're actually in the middle of that process today. And I pulled away from that process so that I could spend a little time with a wider audience talking about kind of the planning that goes around our businesses, and particularly how you and I saw it, how we see it now, and kind of what IFA's role in our kind of our vision is going to continue to be. And so I too led into 2020 very strong. Some of our stores were setting records in terms of one of our key performance indicators is average check. So the consumer's willingness to spend is a big deal in fast food. Those incremental quarters make a ridiculous amount of importance to us in terms of what we look at for profit. We had just moved into a plan for reinvesting in some major shifts in moving up bonus plans. We had already consolidated and started moving into a capital investment structure. We were busy getting to work on redoing some buildings. You know, we'd made commitments to a lot of spending that only comes from profit, right? And I enjoy a world right now that I don't owe the banks any money. So anything that I want to fund, any growth strategies, any remodels or investments come from profit. And then middle of February or so, I started to notice some supply side issues. Some supply lines were starting to tighten up. You know, I tell people that I'm in the taco business, and Taco John certainly is, after 51 years, you know, easily recognized as a great taco maker business out there. But we're really in the commodities business. And so I run it like a business. I pay attention to commodities, right? I'm looking at cattle futures and grain futures. And in terms of geopolitical kind of climates, I look at what's going on in South America and what's happening as it relates to trade agreements and sugar, because we sell Pepsi or Coca-Cola, and whatever's happening across the globe makes a difference in my business. And, my consumers are local, but what I need to bring a product to the consumer comes from all over the world in many cases, or at least what's happening around the world impacts our consumers' willingness to spend discretionary income on a meal through a drive-through window. And so, like you, it really changed our plan. And we were shocked on March 17th, as I think most of this country was, when it felt, eerily quiet on the streets. And that meant that in the retail world, like you and I are in, we stopped seeing our customers, and there was an almost instant gutting of cash and a realization that things had changed so dramatically, we really didn't know what was going to happen. So did you stop seeing guests canceling reservations, stop checking in? What happened that told you this is serious?
Yeah, Tam, great question. So March in Florida generally is our busiest month of the year.
Sure.
From after Christmas to end of April, we probably do 2/3, if not more, of our revenue for our entire year during that stretch, with March being the peak. And middle of March is kind of the crescendo. So we're headed into middle of March, and we weren't following commodity prices like you were, but we were hearing, starting from February, just the chatter. We have a equity partner that's from China, and he had began to tell us that, hey, you guys got to pay attention to this. We had several hotel new construction projects also in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And it was like someone turned the lights off. You go from running 90+% occupancy in March in Florida, which is, the norm for that month, to all of a sudden barely running 3, 4, 5% occupancy.
Right.
And, we employed team members who were extremely rattled by this. The consumer whose expectations in terms of safety changed overnight.
Right.
And then trying to adapt to all of these things. And Tam, it really brings me back to the value proposition of the IFA and being able to engage with people like you. I remember shortly thereafter us having a call about, how do we safely keep our businesses open? What do we do? How do we engage with our lenders? How do we make our the consumer feel safe and protected? And that was priceless, because all of a sudden, when things change so dramatically, it's like you're blindsided. And when you're blindsided, paralysis sets in. Oh my God, I don't know what to do.
Right.
How am I
We
gonna
freeze.
Yeah. We freeze. And it's where, these types of associations and the people that you meet and the leaders that you meet, especially inspirational leaders, you can reach out to them and they're going to say, I'm in the same boat as you are. And you know what? We're going to keep moving forward. We're going to find a way. This is what I'm doing.
And what's interesting, Azim, is that we do that across competitor lines.
Yes.
I have friends that are Del Taco and Taco Bell franchisees. You have friends in the hotel space of competing brands, even in the same market.
Yeah.
And what happens is with an association like ours is that we all speak the same language, right? We're in franchising. And there's nobody that can help us more understand or give us kind of input and advice and even best practices than people that are in a common condition. And so I remember feeling like there was a vacuum of for lack of information about what was happening, except for the IFA. I have to tell you that the amount of information that came out quickly and that was accurate from our great IFA leadership team was by far one of the things that kept me calm. It was precise information. There were actionable things that we could do, to the point that I think we still even have on the website a tracker by state and oftentimes by city or county of current COVID rules in terms of occupancy or hours or state health permit thing. I mean, you can go there and see state by state what the rules are. And as we know this week again, over the next 4 weeks, probably right up until the first of the year, we're going to see changes in what states are doing. We kind of are learning. I feel like Friday is kind of like, it has replaced Monday as the bad news day, right? Fridays, everybody changes rules so that we can get over it over the weekend and come back to like new rules on Monday. But our great team at IFA really rallied and started breaking down information in a way that was very helpful. So you probably would agree, like we were able to look at the general content coming out of IFA, like this is what's happening in terms of kind of the business climate. But there were also, then all of us went to work on putting together almost twice a day, it felt like there for a while, great webinars that were very targeted and specific to our industries or our issues. So didn't you participate in some of the what to do about your labor force to keep them engaged even while you may have to lay them off?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And conversations about across industries, right? So not just hotels. And that's another thing that's the beauty and the value of the IFA is across industries, what your franchisor is doing for you as your partner at this point. So, you're not watching your livelihood go down the drain, and exchanging those best practices and ideas where I could go back to my franchisors and say, hey, look, these are what other franchisors are doing in terms of the system. And I wouldn't have that but for the IFA. And also then sharing my own knowledge that, hey, this is how we're reopening. This is what we're doing. We're dialing up the concentration on our peroxide-based cleaners. This is what Marriott's doing. This is what Choice is doing. This is what IHG is doing. These are the best practices in terms of operations. And by the same, on the same side of that, hearing it from other franchisees, from other industries, not just from hospitality, but from restaurants and
Right.
and other companies, and saying, okay, we can manage this, right? We can survive this. We can navigate through this. There's a plan here. I can take action. I can do this tomorrow. I'm going to try.
Right.
And absolutely, along with volunteering our time and knowledge to share with others. When you give, when you learn, teach, as Maya Angelou said. And, we've gotten a lot from our industry and from the IFA, and trying to take that back to others and saying, you're not alone here. And this is the path forward.
So I remember a time as we kind of moved through that emergency period of March and into April, as we started seeing, okay, some things can be open, but we really are going to stay kind of at an essential business. And then there was kind of this, these are kind of new vocabulary, right? What is an essential business? What is PPE, right? Where are we going to get it? There was this, huge, heck, we couldn't even find toilet tissue. Let's be honest. You couldn't find meat. You couldn't find certain things. But as business owners, not only are we looking to keep our businesses going, provide the goods and services to the communities that we've invested in, but our employees and their families. And I share the story a lot about, a lot of my employees very often, they were the only breadwinner bringing home any paycheck in their household. So most of my staff are under 21 years old. And very often, either one or both parents had been laid off. Maybe they weren't able to work from home, or work from home platforms hadn't quite been built out for them. So a lot of people were kind of in that limbo space. But our teams, we never closed a day. And so we went out to work and gathered, because we had access to food. We did meal kits for all of our employees to take home, so their families could have a week's worth of meals, because we had access to fresh produce and ground beef and all of the things that it takes. And just those kinds of things that I never thought that I would have to do. Some of those kind of learnings came from those conversations we had as groups in the IFA about crisis management. So for sure, my dad told me to always have money set aside. And for sure, I never listened to my dad, right? Even as a 50-plus-year-old business owner that really deals in a day-to-day world of having cash come in, you don't know how important it is to have a plan until it happens. And none of us could figure out how to do both at the same time. What do we do about staying alive, cash flow wise, and not losing our business? And how do we keep everybody safe, keep our employees employed, not lose everything we've built, keep our family kind of, how do our kids and grandkids go to school? Like, all of that happened. And the IFA's team really did do a great job kind of pulling in some outside experts and leading some of these webinars that even people, we had 500 and 600 people join some of those webinars to get information from folks that had good ideas, everything from how to manage your employees, how to source PPE, what to do about, commitments that you've made that you're going to have to extend because there's no way you're going to meet your deadlines on some of that. And so I think about all of that. And then at the same time, we all went to work as a franchisee forum on this little thing called PPP and the CARES Act, right? We all went to work at the White House and through Congress trying to craft a way to help business and school and frontline workers. And so why don't you tell me a little bit of how you contributed to that, and I'll share a little bit from me, and not just, how we contributed as franchisees, but how valuable kind of that effort that was led by the IFA was in terms of having access to credit when we needed it and money.
Absolutely. That round of PPP and legislative assistance that we received was truly a game changer. And then government officials are government officials, right? They're not business people. So when this was being discussed, there were so many strings attached to the PPP in terms of full-time versus part-time and how you're going to track it.
Yeah.
And you know, so many strings attached at a time where we were all just scrambling to basically survive.
Right.
And what we did was we talked about, you know, opening up the definition so that full-time wasn't so restrictive that basically none of us would get, the PPP was alone with the payback that none of us would benefit from. So it was putting a Band-Aid on a bigger issue. We talked about and talked to the IFA, which none of us individually would be able to do, but for being part of a large association with the presence in Washington, D.C. We talked to the IFA and their legislative team about making sure that the FDIC let banks be banks and not look at deferments or interest only as troubled debt restructure. Had that happened, I think it would have put a lot of us out of business and put a lot of people unemployed. And having that line of constant communication with the IFA, I remember getting a call on a Saturday from David Barr in terms of looking at my P&Ls and the EBITDA and how that was going to work with the PPP as it continued to get modified and reformed in a manner that was most beneficial to allow all of us to survive. And he had been, like Tam and like many of the leadership in the IFA, working on Saturdays, Sundays. It was Memorial Day weekend, Memorial Day Monday. And looking at these P&Ls across all industries, right? So just hospitality, but restaurants, all the other franchisees out there, and talking about how PPP, EIDL, Main Street lending would work best for us in terms of allowing us to survive and keep our livelihoods afloat.
Yeah, it really was so incredible how we were able to work with across brands, across size, geography, as members of the IFA and the franchisee forum particularly, because the franchisees' voices are what Congress needed to hear. They weren't necessarily terribly interested in hearing from great big behemoth corporations, or in some cases, even the franchisors that probably have, or at least Congress felt had accesses to credit lines and other assets that could carry them. But as franchisees, as small business owners, you know, our voice was called upon day after day. I know I spent hours on the phone with the secretary of, I mean, just about all of the secretaries. I know we spent some time with the SBA. I know we spent some time with a lot of the voices that you still see on the news from the White House in small groups, trying to help them understand that we're never going to have a perfect solution for everybody, but we have to we have to have a life support system to get us through. At the same time, not even knowing, any of us, what summer was going to look like, what fall was going to look like. We just knew that we wanted to keep our employees on our payroll because we've always worked so hard to even find them. And IFA was just so extremely helpful to franchisees and, of course, franchisors in carrying that conversation forward and getting us to the table and in the rooms where those decisions were made. When the act finally made it to the floor, because I am a geek, and you know this, I'm live streaming it, right? I'm watching the voting, I'm watching the discussion. I'd already read 882 pages of it. I'd redlined it, sent it back. We've done lots and lots of work with the teams on that. But I remember like that it was like a Super Bowl touchdown to win the game when it was approved. I remember cheering and like throwing popcorn in the air, and it was just so incredibly important that we finally, it felt like a lifeline. And we could never have done it without our great IFA team and all of the IFA leaders. But I really want to say that our franchisees stepped up and shared their stories, didn't ask for more than what they deserved, just literally said, I only have so many more weeks before I'll go out if I don't get some help. And we kept it reasonable, right, Azim? We kept our stories true, and we said we would honor our commitments, and we are. And without IFA's leadership representing all of us, I don't think we'd be here today talking about what's going on. So
you're absolutely right. You know, I had employees that once that passed, we called them and said, you could come back to work.
They cried.
They cried.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They cried. And, you know, just another thing is I'm thinking about this. So they passed, they're close to passing this, but the repayment, if I recall correctly, started in November, right?
Yeah.
And it was a very short repayment. And the legislature's argument was, well, the interest rate is really low. Well, how are you going to repay that money starting in November, which is now, and we're having a second or third wave of this on a very short repayment schedule, even though the interest rate.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that we were going to take up a collection and buy everybody in Congress a calculator so that they could figure out what it takes to make a loan payment, right? So there were a lot of reality checks that went on. And our franchisees are the very best at saying, whoa, hold on just a second. I've got a second mortgage on my house. You know, I'm doing everything that I can. I'm all in on my business. This is my family's legacy. We need to look at this a little bit differently. And so just hugely important. But besides all of that, you know, besides just kind of getting us through the reality now, let's talk about a little bit about going into next year and kind of what we're working on with IFA as it represents franchisees, franchisors, and suppliers in the franchising space, and how valuable we are to this conversation now going on about everything from tax planning to some of the FTC work that we're doing. Of course, there's any number of other state issues that continue to pop up that we've got to advocate for and against, depending on what they are. How do you see 2021 shaking out in terms of our great partnership with IFA?
So, Tam, I gotta say this. So we had a call today. The IFA is having a convention next year, albeit virtual, but we're having a convention. The show must go on, right?
Yes.
And one of the franchisee topics, and it speaks to the greatness of the IFA, and there's also economics behind this too, is how do I scale? How do I become a single unit to a multi-unit? How do I take my business from a $1 million to a $10 million company? And the IFA is looking forward, and now is the time to look forward. We went through the 2008 recession. We went through 2001. As a family, this is our fifth economic downturn that we've experienced in the U.S. And each time, the United States has come back better and stronger.
Yeah.
Those who've betted against the U.S. have done so to their own detriment, especially financial detriment. And when the IFA is talking about topics such as growth and growing your portfolio, now is the time. So 2021, it's going to be choppy, especially the first quarter. But when you have franchisees like Tam and so many of the other franchisees that are members of the IFA and have experienced this, they're going to tell you it's choppy now, but you know, today's fires can't extinguish tomorrow's dreams, and you can continue to dream about growing your business in the United States of America. And there's no better time to do so than when you're coming out of a downturn.
You should get me that t-shirt. I want the t-shirt that says today's fires could extinguish tomorrow's dreams. I love that. And it's so true. You can, you know, you're either half full or half empty when you look at a glass. And you're right. I always try to find a positive silver lining out of any situation, because really, that's really all we're in control of, right? Our attitude. And it's one of the things that I love about being part of IFA as a member, but also being a leader in the IFA and encouraging other franchisees to come in and join and learn and give and get, that there's always somebody that's thought of a solution that maybe you haven't. And there's always a new perspective, right? There's always, what have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? I look at 2021 and beyond as a great real estate opportunity. And as sad as I feel that that is for those that will not keep their dream in the way that it started this year, it might be an opportunity for them to sell their real estate and get whole and choose a different thing to work on. And we may have an opportunity to look at, more retail sites. Or I'll tell you the other thing, that secretly, we have a couple of organizations inside of the IFA. One of them is one of my favorite things ever. It's called Franchising Gives Back. And it makes my heart happy to know that we are never going to stop helping communities and institutions in need. And so every year during our usual convention, we take a day and we go work in the neighborhoods wherever IFA is being held. Every other year in Vegas, and last year was in Orlando. And there's always a community project to do. And this year, virtual, but I know that Franchising Gives Back. There are so many things we can do and put ourselves into that would help others that maybe are struggling as franchisees, whether it's advice or blood, sweat, and tears, whatever we can go do. Now is the time to really think about how to give in that way. And I think our franchisees lead in this Franchising Gives Back attitude, because it's who we are. Our franchisors kind of open those doors and the franchisees run right through them, right? And so that is part of 2021 that I'm looking forward to, supporting other franchise enterprises in how they kind of, to me, it's going to be a comeback story, right? You agree, Azim? We are going to have
Absolutely.
a great 2021 and beyond.
Absolutely. 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 And Tam, one of my best memories of 2020, and they're hard to find, but was Franchising Gives Back at Walt Disney, where the facility that Disney World has, where they have children who have life-threatening diseases, and host them for a week with their families. And we were able to get back there, and those memories of that day have provided me also with inspiration throughout the year.
Right.
It's okay.
Right. I tell people all the time. So my family's motto is, it's only money, we'll make more. Right. It's not about that. It's about what else we can do. We'll rise up. And as franchisees and with a strong partnership at IFA, we want to encourage all of you out there to come on in. Doesn't cost anything. If your franchisor is a member, you're already a member. Come and see us. Check out some of the conversations we're having. Ask to be put on the email list, and let's get engaged around what we can do city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood, to really make franchising part of the comeback story of our country. So my great friend and partner, Azim, will be taking over the reins of the Franchisee Forum next year. And I'll be relegated to past chair, which means I'm not sure if I think it means I'm getting coffee for everybody.
No.
Yeah, and I know it is.
More involved.
No. Azim, thank you for spending some time with me today. Appreciate you so much. And join me in looking forward to 2021.
Tam, I appreciate the same. Appreciate you so much. If you are already part of the IFA, but know someone who's not and who's in a business, tell them, join. You will get value back that's exponential. And Tam, truly, truly, truly appreciate you.
Thank you very much. See you all soon. Bye.
Hello, my name is Catherine Monson. I am the CEO of Fast Signs International, and this year also the chairperson of the International Franchise Association. And I want to say thank you so much for investing the last 2 days to sharpen your saw and increase your skills and knowledge. And what a great 2 days it has been. So many amazing speakers. I want to say thank you to Google. I want to say thank you to Location 3. Thank you to the many IFA members that participated in creating the great content for this 2-day session. The International Franchise Association's mission is to protect, promote, and enhance franchising. And we hope that we've done that with our participation in this fantastic conference these past 2 days. Well, our hope is that you've left these 2 days with a list of things you can implement in your business to make it better, to help you grow your profitable sales and really thrive in the coming year. There's no question 2020 has been a challenging year for every single person, and especially for business owners. I happen to believe there are 5 common characteristics of all highly successful people. And the really great thing about these 5 common characteristics is they are all learned skills. Each and every one of us can get better at these 5 common characteristics every single day. I work to do that. And you can see a sign over my shoulder here that has some acronyms on it. And those acronyms stand for these 5 common characteristics. And it is positive mental attitude, goal-directed behavior, self-motivation, a sense of urgency, and never stopping learning. And I work every day to get better in each of those 5 areas. I happen to think that positive mental attitude, a positive mindset, is foundational. You know, you never see a great leader who does not have a positive outlook or a positive mindset. Nobody wants to follow a negative person. People love to follow people with a positive vision. And what I have learned through my life is I needed to create that positive mental attitude. I suffered from some pretty significant depression and negative thinking in my 20s. And went through some great therapy, but also learned that I am the master of my mind. And that is what positive mindset is all about, is being able to master that mind. Over the last half a year, I have made several videos for the International Franchise Association that they share with their members. And I invite you, if you're interested in some motivation, I invite you to go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Catherine Monson, and utilize any of those videos that will bring value to you. But as I think about positive mental attitude, I think about making the decision. I need to make the decision every morning before I start my day to get my mind in the right place. I do that by reading positive quotes, by reading positive material, by counting my blessings, by writing in my gratitude journal. And I think that's part of how I control my mind and make sure that I can be a positive leader. One of my favorite quotes is, a diamond is a piece of coal that took stress really well. And what I want to do on my most stressful days is be seen by my team and by my franchisees as a diamond, as opposed to a stressed out CEO. I also believe that a negative mind will not get you a positive life. And I truly believe that no one will ever be more successful than they see themselves being. So I do a lot of visualizations. I visualize myself being successful before I get on a stage, before I do a television interview, before I do a radio interview, whatever it is. I think, I envision, I visualize what that success is going to look like and how it's going to feel to just hit it out of the ballpark, to get a grand slam with the bases loaded. That helps me then mirror that and act that way. And so I think that visualization of success is so very important. I do believe that attitude determines altitude, and that we need to stay positive because we become what we think about. And I also really believe that attitudes are contagious. And I always ask myself every day, is my attitude worth catching today? And so I do believe that each of us can learn to create that positive outlook, that positive mindset. Thank you so much again for joining us these past 2 days. Thank you again to Google, to Location 3, to every one of the wonderful speakers. I got so much out of this conference. I really learned things, and it's going to help me be a better leader going forward. Take that list of to-dos and action items that you've gathered over the last 2 days. Don't go back and just get busy and get lost. Focus on them, tape them up someplace, and make sure that you implement what you've learned, because that's going to help you make 2021 a great year. And I truly believe it can be a great year. You have the power of your franchise brand. You've got the brain power of all the franchisees and the franchisor all working together to maximize success. And you have behind you the International Franchise Association working every single day to protect the franchise business model, to give protect, promote, and enhance that franchise business model and give you even more opportunity to grow and succeed in your business. Again, thank you for spending the last 2 days with us. Bye.